Caitlin Clark just signed a record. Fans were shocked by an LPGA contract, but ESPN's drab, indifferent coverage has caused everyone to become enraged as the LPGA. ESPN made this a spectacle, handled it as if it were a dull footnote.
Why is
among the most significant events in sports being minimized, this strange tale will leave you wondering about everything.
So, Caitlin Clark played golf during the week, and obviously it was a big deal. Surprisingly enough, almost bigger deal than Unrivaled.
Thus, Kale and Clark spent the week playing golf, and it was clearly a major event on. Surprisingly, it's a much bigger deal, more than unparalleled. Clark, Caitlin, one of the most captivating basketball players of this generation, recently signed an LPGA contract that caused shockwaves to travel through the realms of golf and basketball, but during the LPGA's red carpet rollout. For this historic occasion, ESPN's poor coverage as well as the NBA's fans and critics have remained silent. Caitlin Clark's head-scratching. Changing careers isn't the only reason to go into golf. Since this crossover is historic, why are some of the most well-known figures in sports pretending that it is irrelevant in a
previous video how this Pro-Am event originally wasn't even going to be televised, but there were so many fans who were emailing the organization saying, how can we watch Caitlin? Can we come to the event? Can you live stream it? All of these things. And it ended up being
the shift of Caitlin to golf seems to be the ideal storm of chance. She's coming off of an amazing WNBA and NCAA career attraction, enormous attention wherever she performs. Just basketball games have reached a record-breaking 19 million viewers. Watched her NCAA Final Four match versus South Carolina, a figure that now overshadows a lot of NBA playoff games. Caitlin is creating waves in entirely new, many sports, demonstrating her adaptability, its commercial viability on a worldwide scale.
PGA just did everything that the WNBA should have been doing this season. They did it all correct.
Not only did the LGA invite Caitlin to take part, they constructed the whole situation surrounding her, partnering her with Nelly Korda, the best golfer in the world, in a prom that quickly turned into a show. This competition wasn't your typical one. Caitlin's appearance was a message, drew large audiences and generated buzz that, despite this, the LPGA has hardly been seen. Enormous success of this occasion, ESPN, and it was handled like a child by the WNBA. Sports history footnote. Let's get started into Caitlin's specifics. Historic golf debut and the perplexing answers, or lack thereof, from two of the most well-known figures in sports media, and Caitlin Clark in women's sports. She is accustomed to breaking down obstacles. A basketball career has served as evidence to her extraordinary aptitude and capacity to attract interest in women's sports, from her time in college at Iowa, where she became a sensation that broke records, to her WNBA career as a professional. Caitlin has continuously broken expectations, but nobody was able to anticipated that she would turn into a golf motion that caught people off guard and sparked enthusiasm for two sports, the LPGAs. Caitlin's invitation was a brilliant move. It was brilliant to include her. They made use of her enormous fan base and brought fresh perspectives to Caitlin's sport. Taking part in the prom wasn't only. It was all about showing off her golf prowess. Regarding honoring her as a multiport, Nelly Korda's combination with the sportsman was the cherry on top. Is a duo that blended the global appeal of Caitlin with the outcomes of Nelly's domination in golf were instantaneous and indisputable. Throngs flocked to social media and the event, humming such enthusiasm that fans couldn't too many of Caitlin's initial strikes at her conversations with Nelly, as well as the absolute uniqueness of witnessing a basketball player take Caitlin Clark was evident on golf. Wasn't merely a visitor to this event. She was the LPGA's primary draw. The way Caitlyn's debut was handled was nothing. Not quite right. They comprehended the importance of the occasion and ensured to increase its impact initially. The prom was not intended to be broadcast on television. However, tremendous fan demand compelled the. In order to pivot, LPGA turned what could transformed a modest display into a broadcast event, guaranteeing as many people saw Caitlyn's debut. This choice paid off as much as feasible in a. Significantly, the occasion produced more than 34 million impressions on social media, startling figure that highlights. The LPGA is powered by Caitlyn Starr, took advantage of every facet of her behind-the-scenes involvement, sharing videos, images, and highlights that were preserved. Fans stayed involved even after the event was over. Not only did Caitlyn win, but it was a victory for women's sports and golf as a. Additionally, the LPGA made a point of honoring Caitlyn's appeal to a wide range of people. She wasn't treated like an outsider. They accepted her as a vital member of the occasion. This strategy struck a chord with supporters who believed that the LPGA comprehended and valued the contributions Caitlyn made to the table by positioning her as the focal point of the LPGA's demonstration of how to efficiently promote women's athletics and create memorable moments for social media. Played a significant part in enhancing. Fans of Caitlyn's LPGA debut took to sites such as Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter to express their enthusiasm and honor her accomplishments with videos of taking Caitlyn to sign autographs. Initial attempts and engaging with fans went viral, reaching a vast audience. That the engagement is surrounded by classic golf rounds was extremely high, demonstrating once more Caitlyn Clark works in marketing. What made social media a powerhouse? Response was so potent that it. Fans of authenticity weren't merely observing. They were taking part in the Caitlyn. When they revealed their favorite highlights, produced memes, and began discussions on her crossover, intended for sports involving women. Leveraging this momentum, the LPGA used their social media platforms to increase the thrill and continue the discussion. Proceeding, this contrasts sharply with how other institutions managed Caitlyn's first appearance, as the LPGA welcomed the influence of social media on others. The WNBA and ESPN appeared to overlook the completely disregard their lack of involvement. Not only let down admirers, but also brought attention to a bigger problem: the failure to acknowledge and commemorate instances that can improve women's athletics. Moreover, ESPN is the network that should have taken the lead in commemorating the LPGA debut of Caitlyn Clark. This tale was specifically written for ESPN, a basketball sensation entering the golf's world and fostering a culture moment, but their reporting was startlingly disappointing rather than delivering thorough examination and joyous, highlighting how Caitlyn's debut was handled by ESPN. Similar to a little news story, the coverage lacked enthusiasm, vitality, and any sense of importance to those who tuned in. In anticipation of Caitlyn's accomplishments, acknowledged that this was a huge disappointment. Is more than just a squandered chance. It's a. ESPN's platform is a shocking failure, and power to elevate occasions such as Caitlyn's debut on the LPGA, although a poor response conveys a concerning message that implies women's athletics are still not receiving enough attention and the deference they are due even when they become a celebrity like Caitlyn Clark. ESPN's responses, or lack thereof, and the NBA draw attention to a larger problem, is the way that women's sports are handled. The LPGA debut of Caitlyn Clark wasn't merely a wonderful crossover moment, it was a chance to demonstrate the potential of women's sports will attract and engage audiences, fans, and make a difference in culture. But when organizations are unable to identify and encourage these risky situations, compromising the advancements that have been contributed to the LPGA's success in managing Caitlyn's debut demonstrates the possibilities when you support and honor athletes. By placing her as the focal point of their event, they improved their brand in addition to, but also illustrated the importance of putting money into women's sports is a lesson that other organizations would follow. I am pleased to hear about Caitlin Clark's LPGA debut. Was more than simply a sporting event. It was a cultural moment to demonstrate how women's sports have advanced significantly and the heights they are capable of reaching with the correct assistance. But the LPGA took advantage of the WNBA's silence at this point spoke more loud than anything they could say,
Given on behalf of a league that has been
battling for relevance and attention. This felt like a wound that I had caused myself. Caitlin is more than simply a basketball player. The WNBA. She is a phenomenon as a player, the type of sports person who goes outside her sport, from her record-breaking efforts in NC to her entry into the workforce. Caitlin has demonstrated time and again in basketball, once more, that she attracts her audience, covers generations, starting with young girls who consider her to be an inspiration to long-time basketball lovers who are in awe of her abilities and stand by when the WNBA ignores her. The LPGA debut is more than simply a lost opportunity. It's a betrayal of their opportunity. Goal to encourage and assist women's. The WNBA's silence regarding Caitlin's an LPGA debut is not a one-time event. Oversight. It's a component of a larger trend that both critics and fans have been noting out. The league has been out for years, has had difficulty in promoting its players, passing up chances to participate, engage supporters, and generate enthusiasm for. Caitlin Clark, one of its stars, made her LPGA debut as an ideal opportunity to alter that story, to demonstrate that the WNBA acknowledges and honors the diverse abilities of its players. Instead, they remained silent and said nothing. Conveys a concerning message, not only to Caitlin, but to all young girls who have dreams of a WNBA career. If the league, unable to commemorate one of its largest celebrities entering a different sport and attracting a lot of attention, what is that? Discuss their dedication to their fans of the players noticed, but they weren't hesitant to express their annoyances. The NBA's silence didn't only let it down. Social internet was ablaze with angry posts, critique of the NBA's deficiency in fans of acknowledgement utilized hashtags like #WBOWake and #SupportCaitlin, ready to criticize the league for its inaction. Some people noted that the LPGA had demonstrated the proper leaning technique, use Caitlin's celebrity and participation to improve their brand. In contrast, the WNBA appeared outdated, disengaged from the desires of the fans and what remarks were needed at the time. The reaction. Overloaded websites such as Twitter and how did you miss this post on Instagram?
1.
Caitlin Clark, an irate fan, is doing over the WNBA for women's sports. Another was added just now, and this was your when you blew the WNBA moment. The backlash wasn't limited to this particular incident. It was regarding a neglectful pattern that fans have had enough of this. It's not the first. The WNBA has been criticized over time. Players in their marketing plan, such as AA. Additionally, Wilson and Breanna Stewart have been outspoken on the need for improved encouragement and backing for Caitlin's LPGA. These frustrations returned with the debut into the public eye, compelling admirers and analysts to re-examine the priorities of the league. While the WNBA made a mistake, the LPGA gave a master instruction on how to deal with a star from the when Caitlin's participation was declared that the LPGA leaned in to make her the main attraction at the prom. They matched her with the world's most famous, renowned golfer, crafting a story that was the basketball cannot be ignored. Together, the golf superstar and the phenom, they attracted significantly larger crowds than the LPGA's expectations. Didn't end there. They paid attention to the cries of the fans for the event's coverage and switched to broadcast what would have been a peaceful ESPN's coverage. A low-key affair turned into a nationwide, televised spectacular that produced more than 34 impressions from millions of social media users. That's an incredible figure for any sport. Need to include a video of a pro golf event of Caitlin engaging and signing autographs, meeting admirers, and making her initial attempts. Overwhelmed the LPGA's social media accounts. The level of engagement was extraordinary, and, reasonably, the LPGA didn't simply treat Caitlin as though she were a guest. Her as a crucial player in the case that someone who might attract new golf enthusiasts. And then there's ESPN, which elevates the sport. Being the top sports network, you'd believe they would be everywhere in Caitlin Clark's. This type of story was the LPGA debut that might attract viewers from a basketball star's demographics, joining the golf industry and establishing a spectacle. But rather than commemorating the ESPN's coverage of the incident was startling, boring. Instead of emphasizing Caitlin's revolutionary action, ESPN handled it as a small tale, providing coverage in order to. It seemed uninspired and like an afterthought. Those who hoped for in-depth celebration and analysis were greeted with a dull summary that hardly touched on the surface for one of Caitlin's athletes' caliber. This was a fantastic. Criticizing ESPN's mediocre coverage is not just disheartening, but also symbolic of a more significant problem in sports media. Women's sports frequently face challenges for visibility, and occasions like as Caitlin Clark's first appearance on the LPGA offers chances to alter that by neglecting to acknowledge the event's importance. ESPN missed an opportunity to highlight more than simply Caitlin. Despite the more general advancements being made in women's sports are more than merely. It's about the message that ESPN's Caitlin and other athletes are sent by coverage. Clark puts forth endless effort to dismantle obstacles and demonstrate that women's sports are deserving of the same regard and deference as men's. When a moment such as this is minimized, undercuts their initiatives and strengthens the structural obstacles that women face in sports.